Hello, thank you for joining me on Tea Time. Today's conversation is something that was requested from all of you darlings. We're going to chat about being a working mother. In this country, I would say most of us women, we work, right? So what has that looked like across my lifetime, and just giving you a little background on how it's been for me over the years, transitioning from different types of being a working mother. For today, I am having a green tea. This is one of my absolute favorite teas, and it's called Yogi's Green Tea Kombucha. You can see that. So this does have caffeine, but it also has like a little bit of passion fruit in there and lemongrass, and it just has this really, I like it in the afternoon because I think of it as like a dessert tea, but it also has some fermented tea in there, kombucha, and that's from a black tea. So anyway, darlings, I am going to just jump right in right after I have a sip of tea, which by the way, is still hot. So in my life, I have been a full-time college student, a part-time designer, and a mother. So that was like through my early 20s. In my late 20s, I was a stay-at-home mom, which by the way is still being a working mom, but having a job outside the home. So in my late 20s, I stayed at home, which like I said, is definitely still being a working mom. But then picking up a job outside the home after that was when I was like 31, when I became a corporate flight attendant, which means now I've got a new husband and I'm traveling. And so I've done the single motherhood while working. Then I met Mike. And so that's like newly married while trying to figure out motherhood and working and new dynamics of a new relationship and marriage and household and all of that. So I've got some experience in there, darlings. I have been around the block on this whole working mom concept. So when I was younger, everyone made lots of assumptions. I don't know if you guys remember, like back in the 90s, there was this whole taboo about kids raising kids and teenage motherhood and promiscuity, and how, you know, the music of, you know, the time was just basically creating a generation of, you know, defunct children that weren't, or, you know, young people that weren't going to do anything or accomplish anything. And certainly when I became pregnant in my senior year of high school, completely written off. Everyone kind of thought, oh gosh, Neil, you didn't seem like you were the kind of person to throw your life away, and you know, you're just going to be a statistic, and on and on and on. I heard all kinds of beautiful, supportive comments like that, which, you know, I'm the kind of person that turns vinegar into, I don't know, sunshine and rainbows. Give me all your vinegar. Please pour it on me, because I'm going to show you. I have probably do a lot of things out of spite, but still I'm not the kind of person you could tell no to, like, you can't do that. So I felt like the more people were telling me, oh, you're going to be a statistics, you know, kids raising kids, and I can't believe you're throwing your life away, the more I became impassioned and determined, and basically, y'all gonna get my middle finger. That kind of attitude, that was where my whole energy and mindset was at 18. Right off the bat, after having May, I knew I needed to get my butt back to where I wanted to be. And so I started college probably when she was, I don't know, 6 months before she, or maybe just as she was turning 1. So I took like a year to figure out the whole, like, what am I doing with myself and how to be a mom, and I'd never been around babies, so I gave myself that time. But I also knew that in order to be the type of woman I wanted her to look up to, that means I needed to put some work in, right? I first started off at a junior college, then I transferred to UCLA. And so once I was there, I ended up getting a job. That is phase one of my working mom. So while I was in school, I had like a village surrounding little May to make sure that, hey, Tennille wants to work, Tennille wants to go to school, let's see what we all could do. And somewhere in there, I was able to, like I said, go to school full time, work 30 hours at my interior design job. I went to school at night, then I would get off of school like around 10, and then then I do my homework from like 10 until, I don't know, 2 in the morning and hit repeat. So somewhere in there, because May was always with a family member, she didn't, you know what, the honest truth is, she's still very close to her grandparents as a result. And I always said to myself, this is temporary, right? Because this is what I need to do to be the best version of myself so that I can take care of her and so that I can show her that life goes on after, having her at a young age. So I really wanted her to look up to me. And I knew that was going back to school and working and all of that was necessary. And then I had Zaya, my second daughter, and again, it was more of the same kind of support to help her help take care of them. And then maybe about like a little bit after Zaya was born, I said to myself that I really wanted to be the kind of mother that was at home. So then I transitioned to being just a full-time stay-at-home mom. I want to say that period of time was a little confusing for me and a little it was hard because I've just come from this really, really rich, active lifestyle, meaning I was flying high at this really amazing design firm that I was working at. I was working on some top projects in Los Angeles, and I had a lot of autonomy in that role as a designer. And then at school, I was assisting in classes and teaching classes, and I had a great friend structure there at school and teachers and all of that. So I want to be this, super mom and just doing all this mom stuff. And I quickly figured, not that it's not enough, but I have like all of this energy, have all this creative energy. And so for a minute there, I thought I was gonna start a children's clothing line. And so I started messing around with that. And then, I would spend hours and hours. I had a friend that we were collaborating on that with. We would spend hours doing that, designing and sewing. And although it never really came to be, it was nice to give my energy into something creative. I had a lot of passion for that. And then going down to my late 20s, I started helping their dad run his business, and that not necessarily was something that was my passion or interest, but it did give me an outlet of working and engaging with people and that whole thing. And I just kind of filled in the gaps wherever it was needed in that capacity. And I had some couple side interior design projects that I was doing, residential projects. And so all the while, if you live in Los Angeles, you'll get it. I was always in the car and I was racing from here to there, and from West Hollywood all the way back to the Culver City area. I was just always running in the car, but it felt great. I really am the kind of person that needs to be busy. So all the while, I would say from my late 20s, mid to late 20s, the kids were always my priority, and I fit a whole bunch of other stuff around the time that I wasn't physically taking care of them. When Zaya was in nursery school or May was in elementary school, what am I going to do with my time? And so I always was this kind of hustler attitude, I've got to be doing something. So that then we come to when I left the girl's father, and then now I'm a single mom. Oh my goodness. So single mom is just the hardest. It was hard. And you single moms out there, you know what I'm talking about. There's just, how do you be this one person to do everything? And the truth is, you know, I ended up asking my parents for help. They helped a lot, because that's when I also began my career as a corporate flight attendant. And so they took care of the girls so that I could work and earn some money, because at that time I was really low. I didn't have a house, didn't have a car. You guys have heard me say this. I didn't have anything. And so here I am trying to rebuild a life again. And, you know, I needed the support, I needed the help. And so I just felt a tremendous amount of stress and pressure, and it made me feel very overwhelmed and depressed and anxious. And so my parents really stepped in and helped me for about a year to get back on my feet and to figure out how to work this single motherhood. And so picking up a job that, you know, has you travel, now that sounds, you know, the opposite of what a mother should be doing. But I'll have to say that life of a corporate flight attendant was the perfect job for me, because what that meant was, in order for me, when I'm talking about finances, in order for me knew how much money I needed to make each month, and I worked as a contractor. So if I flew this amount of days, then I would be able to cover my expenses for the month, right? I wasn't really saving any money. We're just talking like, you know, check to check, trying to keep the roof over our head and, you know, gas on and that kind of thing. Like, nothing grand here. Because for me, the most important thing was taking care of the kids and like being present. We were going through such a huge transition. I didn't want to be gone all that much. I just was trying to, you know, get some semblance of life again. Flight attending allows you to take a flight that's like for 5 days, and then you could technically, if you felt like that 5-day trip was enough to cover your lifestyle or whatever it is that you need to earn on a monthly basis, you could have the rest of the 25 days in the month home to be with your family. So if you get what I'm saying, so if your work, let's say you're gone for 10 days out of the month, then that does mean that 20 days out of the month you're actually home. And so what better way to be present for your children is to have 20 consecutive days with them? Or, you know, if you break it up over the month, I'm going to be gone for 2 days here or 3 days there, and, you know, at the end of the month I have a, you know, 4-day trip, but every other day in there I'm going to be home with you. It's actually the perfect job for a mother. But there is the other side of having a lifestyle where when I started working for my boss, you guys know Magic Johnson is here, there, and everywhere. You see his big smile everywhere. And during that period of time, that meant I was everywhere. And it was a big adjustment for Mike. It was a big adjustment for the girls, because now, before I was taking flights, that suited me. And now I'm working full time for a person who travels half the year. And so that, for me, came with a lot of guilt, and a lot of guilt in the sense that I was not home for holidays. I missed birthdays, anniversaries, trips. I was lucky if I was even home on like Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. All the holidays, you name it, I work. You know, people want to vacation on those times. Well, that means I have to be gone when they're vacationing too. So I stay where they stay. And, you know, if they're in a city, then I stay in that city. And so that meant that my family was put on the back burner, because this was my job, this was my career, this was my life. So I definitely suffered so much guilt and so much just like, I don't know, I have to applaud Mike, because he really held it down and really just kept the girls, you know, on track, and just kept everything going and flowing, making sure that their needs were met while I was gone. It meant that I had to really prioritize, like, Mike and I met in a coffee shop. I told you guys that. So whenever I was home, it was just like something that Mike and I did. We would always go to a coffee shop. Or, you know, before the pandemic, we would just go have breakfast, random day of the week. Of course we could, because, you know, in that capacity of that job, I was home on random days. So, hey, if I'm home on a Wednesday, let's do this on a Wednesday. So anyway, that was nice that I could do those kinds of things, but it became like I really had to focus in and make sure that I was giving him that time, the girls that time. And in fact, that's why the Advent calendar came to be. I don't know if you guys have seen my Advent calendar that I do every year. I started the Advent calendar because December is like a super busy month in corporate flight attending world. We're in travel world, right? In the world of traveling. And so I definitely wanted to have a way to connect with girls, so I started the Advent calendar so that it would kind of distract them that mommy was literally gone for 20 days out of December. And so they had these like little gifts, and then I would build in the days that I knew I would be home. I'd say, hey, on this day we're going to bake cookies, or on this day let's watch Christmas movies and things like that. But I really had to work extra hard at making sure that when I was home that I created time. And but I definitely had a lot of guilt during especially the early years of that job, working for him, because I just didn't know what I was getting into as far as like what it would feel like to be gone from my family so much, and being traveling all the time, and then coming back into their world. And so being a working mom is no easy thing. And certainly now that my kids are older, they're both adults, I still, now that I'm working from home, I still feel like I said last month, like it's really important to create those boundaries so that the blinds don't get so blurry, so that you have some structure, and that people have some expectation that you're going to participate in their life. I remember one time I made a reservation, Mike and I made a reservation to celebrate our anniversary, and I had just had my hysterectomy surgery, and I hadn't worked for a month. And so our anniversary's in June. We had made this trip in May, booked everything. I didn't have a flight on the time that we had the trip or whatever, and then a trip came up, and I had to tell Mike, oh, I can't go on that trip to San Francisco with you because I have a flight that came up. And going back to last month's conversation about boundaries, I really never took personal time off from work in the 10 years, or how long I was working for Mr. J, for like 8, almost 9 years, somewhere in there, 8.5 years. And I never took vacation days because I felt like I was getting enough time at home. I felt like I was getting enough time at home. But in retrospect, I should have used my vacation time. And it's not his fault. I didn't set any boundaries. I didn't know how to say no to, if I had a flight, I had a flight. That just meant I had a flight and need to go. But as a working mother and wife, I should have prioritized and said, no, I have vacation time. I'm taking my vacation time. I don't care if I just had surgery and I was out for a month. I'm going on this trip. So yeah, there's those moments, as a working mom, where you feel like you're missing out on everything, and it becomes very emotional. Feelings get hurt. Things get very strained between your man and you, or whatever, and you're just like, oh my gosh, where does it end, and how does it all work? And so communication is very important when you are home, or when you are together and you're not working. It is really important to be present at that time. And it's still something that I'm struggling with myself, because now, I don't flight attend anymore, but I swear to you, I work more than I ever in my entire life doing all those things I just talked about, because I'm trying to build a business, and I have so many dreams and so many passions and desires that I want to explore. And here I am, 43, and I want, I'm starting a whole new chapter, a whole new world, a whole new business, and I'm trying to breathe life into it, and it just takes every ounce of my passion and energy to do so. And here I am once again sacrificing this thing and the other thing. And so always working on my work-life balance, always trying to set those boundaries. Fortunately, Carol tries to keep my schedule because she sets the schedule for like my shooting and meetings and things like that. All of the content calendar, all of that, Carol sets all the schedule. And so now when I look at my schedule and I see that she blocks off my weekends, I can't tell you, Mike and I love going to the farmer's market. We've resumed that. I can cook, I can bake, I can, my brother just moved into town, I can visit my brother. Like, it's just a good thing. It's just really important to have those boundaries and things, and now I can actually have like a true weekend. It's huge. And honestly, it's a way of showing love. Like, I don't want my husband to think that working is the most important thing. Even though I'm really passionate about building TTL and all of that, there needs to be balance, and you need to be able to pour into all the categories in your life that matter to you. So let's just recap. Because I feel like I shared my evolution of being a working mom, but ultimately the one thing that I have learned is that having open communication about who's taking care of the kids, or how that's all gonna look like, very essential, especially when they're little. The other thing is being very organized, and how Carol has like the schedule and everything. It has really helped the organization of knowing my time and what I can do and what I can't do, and of course making time for those things that really matter. And it's also really important to set working hours. So I don't know if you guys heard last month on the conversation about boundaries, but yeah, I have working hours. So from like the time that I wake up until late afternoon, around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, those are my working hours. And everyone in the house knows that, yeah, I may see mom because I work from home, right? I may see mom, but those hours we know that she's working. And so that's really helped, like saying I'm starting my day from the time that I wake up, but I will be finishing my day approximately the same time every day. And so that helps create some structure and continuity in our household. And so everyone could just be, chill and happy. And Lord knows I need the break too. I can sit down and watch a movie with Mike and it be, a pleasurable thing, because I'm not like stressing, because I know that that's where my boundary is. That's where I've set the schedule. Ultimately, darlings, I just feel like, first of all, I just felt my ears and I realized I didn't have any earrings. That's number one. Oh my gosh. Number two, and the real thing I want to say is, through all of this, I would say the most important thing is to be kind to yourself. I think we women, we just are so here to give. We're the nurturers. Not that men aren't, but I am talking about working moms. So sorry, fellas out there. You have to be kind to yourself. And at the same time of trying to pour into your passions and build the life that you want. I think there is a balance in there. It takes a lot of communication, a lot of patience, and a willingness on not just your significant other, but also the supporting team in your life. Maybe it's grandma, or maybe it's an aunt, or maybe it's a cousin or a sibling who's going to help supplement the raising of your children. There just needs to be an open communication, and like I said, be kind to yourself and realize that one, your kids are going to be just fine. They're going to love you just the same. And it is really important. Mommy has to do what mommy has to do for the betterment of herself and the betterment of her future, their future, your household future. And I would say that I feel very fortunate. I know that it's like God's grace that I was able to accomplish everything that I have accomplished in my 43 years. It is not it's literally a miracle. So in closing, I really just want to let all of you know that through all of this, the one thing that I wish I knew to do was just to be kinder to Tennille through all of it. I think I've always carried a lot of guilt, wanting to be the best mother possible, wanting to be great in all categories. I don't know if that's a realistic expectation, but I really have always worked very, very hard and diligently to meet all the needs and all the categories in my life. In fact, my family has called me a robot on many occasions, and I think it's for the simple fact that I'm like always on, always going. And again, I don't know if that's realistic. It's just kind of my compensating for being gone, working long hours, and wanting to be the best mom possible, be the best wife possible, be the best employee possible. And it's just, again, set some realistic expectations, set some boundaries, some structure, stay organized, and most importantly, have communication about this with all the supporting roles in your life, with your kids, with your significant others. The communication is definitely what keeps, it's never going to be perfect, but at least you're talking through it, I think, because there will be a lot of heated moments, intense moments, and the things that naturally happen between households, so hurt feelings, that kind of thing. But I like to focus on the positive, and really it is possible to juggle it all and to still have a happy, thriving family, lifestyle, all the above. And on that note, for the next tea time, darlings, I'm going to leave it on your doorstep. What I would love for you to do, I'm going to leave some polls up on stories and on over here on Instagram, or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be on Instagram. Because we're going to talk about blogging. We're going to talk about the business side of blogging and influencing, working with brands, anything you want to know, blogging related, content creating related, influencer world, marketing related. Let me know. I want it to be a curated conversation only about what your questions. So I'm going to give that to you guys to carry, and then I'll just have my little cheat sheet and we'll just run down the list and we'll go through all the questions and I'll answer them for you. So on that note, I'm going to get back to my now tepid green tea, and I love you, darlings, and I always appreciate you watching and engaging with me. I sit here and I'm just like talking to my camera, and so when you guys leave me all of your comments, it literally, I tuck them under my pillow and I say, I'm not just talking to my camera, I'm talking to all of you, and it really is meaningful, and it really is resonating with you, and it truly does matter to me, and I feel very blessed and very none of this is possible. It's all grace. I take no responsibility for it. So I thank God for that. I thank you guys for sticking with me and hanging on, hanging in there for all the conversations. And so on that note, cheers. I'm gonna have a sip of my tepid tea anyway.